Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name's Ann Greeny. Today I'm going to be talking about going mobile. I was actually just thinking, I've given now about 30 of these presentations in the last couple of years, and this is the first one I'm doing with a slight head cold, so bear with me. Hopefully I don't cough into the mic and blow everyone's eardrums out. So let's get started. First, a little bit about myself. So I started off my career in the entertainment industry, working with big brands and pairing them with entertainment properties. Wanted to get up into tech, so I moved up to Silicon Valley, worked at Sony PlayStation, helping launch some of their mobile offerings. Kind of caught the startup bug there and started working with a lot of early stage companies. Built my own consulting agency where I invest and advise, working with some top VCs in the Valley. Ran the marketing and business development at StumbleUpon, helping them go mobile with their mobile products. And now I'm at a company called Affinity. And Affinity is a relationship intelligence platform. What that means is we take your team or your organization's relationship graph and we put it right into your CRM. This allows you to be able to know who can make those crucial introductions, who can make referrals within your organization, within your team, as well as outside, like investors or advisors. 6/29/07. Does anyone know what this date was? Steve Jobs stood up on the stage and he said, "Your life in your pocket." He was introducing the first iPhone. Anyone here get the first iPhone? I did. It's the iPhone OG, as we used to call it. It didn't come with iTunes, it didn't come with much of anything, but it came with a vision of how we were going to change, or how Apple and eventually all these other players were going to change the world. A lot of my friends at the time were like, "Why are you giving your T-Mobile Sidekick up? Like, what is it about this phone? Why would you spend $400 at that time to get this new phone?" But there was a vision of how we're going to compute, of how we're going to use these devices, these computers that are in our pocket. So what does it mean to go mobile? Well, first off, it's not about a screen. It's not about a screen size anymore. Mobile is everywhere. It's about using the power of the device and the data that it provides to produce the best user experience. And when you do that, you create incredibly sticky products. You are enabled to attract customers in a new way that without this technology, you just couldn't before. So let's look at mobile consumption and just some of the trends around it. So first off, I've given a lot of presentations on marketing to millennials, marketing to the next generation. And in those, it used to be all about going mobile. It's not about millennials anymore. Everyone has gone mobile. You don't just market to if you're just, you don't focus on mobile if you're just marketing to millennials. You focus on mobile if you're marketing to anyone. And you can see the trends. The trends on the right of growth on mobile devices. The only one that's beaten it out, even though it's a small fraction, is e-games and how they've now changed the online world. It's a different conversation, but it is something interesting. And there are mobile components to that, too. So when I joined on Affinity, and Affinity were basically a CRM product with this added layer of data, we also have a mobile offering. So when I was digging in the data, one of the interesting things I found, well, who uses our mobile apps the most? Who are the top users of mobile apps? C-level executives, the C-suite, because they're always on the go. So again, before we talk about mobile as, oh, it's this younger generation who's using it. No, mobile is not, it's not just for fun anymore. This is where B2B, B2C, everyone needs to concentrate on building a mobile experience and marketing on mobile. And the expectations around this have continued to rise. 85% expect a page on mobile to load as fast as a desktop. So before, when we first got our phones, it was like, oh, that was really cool if someone sent you a video and you'd wait a minute for it to load. That obnoxious feeling of the spinning wheel of death. But we kind of were okay with it because it was so cool that we could watch a video on our phones. Not anymore. Now we expect everything to load instantaneously. So some other trends. 42% of the time is spent in one application. 42%. So when mobile apps first started coming out, we saw this trend. Everyone would download everything. You'd use everything. And now we've kind of gotten tired of that. We have pages and pages and pages of apps. We don't even remember what's on our phone anymore. And app growth is dying. App downloads were down 20% year over year. Average downloads per month, 0. Now this is a little bit scary in the world. Like, we have come to think that, oh, we just create an app. That's our solution to going mobile. But that doesn't work anymore. So we have to dig a little deeper. So what is working? Well, chat apps are thriving. Messengers are thriving. We've started to see this trend that continues where chat apps have surpassed social media. Messaging apps have surpassed social media apps in monthly active users. And over 1 billion messages were sent by businesses. So this isn't just teens messaging back and forth to each other. This is how we communicate, how we deal with customer service. Over 60% of people actually would prefer a chat over a phone call or an email. This is some numbers from Facebook Insights, where they did a study showing that it's not just millennials, it's Gen X, and we're starting to see boomers too. People would rather get that immediate response via chat without having to have a cumbersome phone call. There's an opportunity there. And chatbots are replacing apps. So I was fortunate enough to go back to South Korea to teach a class last year. And there they use an app called Kakao. Kakao is taking over. Kakao does everything. And we see this in China with WeChat. We see it in Asia. It has grown where these messaging apps do everything. You can get a ride share. You can get a car. You can order food. You can chat with your friends. You can send emojis. You can do everything social media, plus everything tactical, because all of the bots are built right in. Facebook's tried to push this with their messaging app, allowing brands to create bots within their messaging platform. A one-stop shop to do everything. This is a trend that we continue to see that as brands and marketers we have to kind of play around with, because this will continue to, and as you can see from just the growth of the fastest growing chat apps, these are not small numbers. This is where people are spending their time. So let's look at the mobile marketing toolkit. How do you use these tools to actually reach people? Well, first off, content is king. This should surprise no one. I'm sure everyone who's given a presentation has said this. It's mobile content, right? But the quality has been redefined. Before it used to be about a 60-inch screen. When I worked at Paramount, if we wanted to produce something, we had boom mics, we had sound editors, we had this whole crew to actually produce a video, even to do a photo shoot. But now, all of these tools are right in our pocket. You can do a majority of this stuff with some soft lighting and your iPhone or your Android. Clearly, I have a bias, but that's just me. And it comes back to more about creativity. So these photos, it's more about being creative. I'm a big runner. I'm a distance runner. And so every morning I wake up and I go out and I do this. I either set my watch or I set my phone. And I stare down in my shoes because I'm too tired, and just before I run. So when I saw this ad, it resonated with me. Anyone can take that photo. It's more about getting inside your personas, getting inside your customer's head, being creative. It's one from Airbnb. This isn't high quality video. Anyone can do this, but it's more about being creative and tapping into your creativity on these devices. And this is an interesting piece of data. This is from Facebook. When you look, we have to be thinking when we produce content like a publisher and not like a brand. What does that mean? Well, what do brands do? Well, brands, we love to talk about ourselves. How great am I? You know, especially if any marketer's in the room, every time you build content for a CEO or founder and have that knee-jerk reaction, well, we didn't sell hard enough in this. You know, the problem there is not everyone wants to hear you talk about yourself ad nauseum. So we need to think like media. Think like a publisher. Create content that's engaging, especially on mobile. Create content that's entertaining. Forget about just talking about yourself ad nauseum and think of ways to covertly add your message into this content. This is one of my favorite quotes of all time. If I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. How many times do we go out there to create content and we just keep writing? Well, it's just going to sound better if I just keep writing, just more SEO keywords, even though no one's going to read it. Spend the time to write in a concise manner. If someone's reading your content on a mobile device, they're likely not going to be spending 20 minutes reading it. You're going to spend only a few. So organize your content and write it in a manner that's really easy to consume on a 6-inch device. So creating this mobile-first content. So when I got my column at Inc., one of the best pieces of advice I got was about breaking up these paragraphs, was about writing for mobile. So paragraphs should only be 2 sentences, and they should include these headers. And the reason is, so when I'm scanning through a piece of content, maybe I find it on Twitter, maybe I find it on Facebook, and I'm scanning through to find it, I can get the gist of the story within maybe 30 seconds. Then I can decide whether I want to keep reading it, bookmark it, email it to myself. There's all sorts of ways that we can continue to keep the conversation going. But a lot of times when we're consuming on mobile, we don't have the, we don't have the luxury of sitting in front, with 30 minutes of time to spare. So make it easy to read. Make it easy to scan. This is some data about where the eye goes on mobile. So with desktop, the eye went to the top left and kind of scrolled down. On mobile, it goes right in the middle. This is why headers are so important. So when you're building this content, building it so it's easy to get your main message across with just a glance. So if you build it, well, they won't necessarily come. Why is that? Well, like I said, everyone's out here talking about content marketing. Content is king. Everyone's saying that. What does that mean? It means we're all creating content. It's a very cluttered and crowded space. Just creating content is not good enough. We need to think about distribution. And distribution on mobile has changed a lot. Now, online spending on mobile is seeing a massive shift. This is some research done by Mary Meeker at Kleiner Perkins. We're starting to see this accelerate, but it still hasn't caught up to where it needs to be, to where the users actually are. And because we're consuming more and more on mobile, we're seeing some big changes. One of them is the death to the banner ad, death to display. Thank God, right? In a mobile world, it just doesn't work. The real estate is just too small for these banner and display ads on a 6-inch device. In addition, 50% of the clicks are accidental. If your strategy still consists of display and you're going after these customers that you know are reading or consuming content on mobile, you need to rethink this. In addition, how many people have clicked by accident on an ad when they're on mobile? That experience is awful. You get mad. Like, this is not what I wanted. I don't want to be taken out of the experience and put somewhere else. This is not how you connect with a future customer. So we need to rethink how we advertise on mobile. In addition, we have the rise of the ad blockers. So even though you're seeing these impressions, are your potential customers actually seeing them? We don't know. There's these huge gaps in the space. Technology has allowed us to block out advertisements. So again, if you have these display media budgets, you need to start rethinking them. So what works? Native ads. Native ads were viewed 53% more than banner ads. And we've seen this social native just domination led by the behemoth Facebook. Now, a lot of times I'll ask people, do you actually spend on native ads? And people are, no, I don't. I was like, do you spend on Facebook? Yeah. You spend on native. You can update your resume. Facebook is one of the best native solutions out there. Why? Because it's right within your feed. Right within your feed. Facebook first came out with ads. They were on the right, and it was usually Farmville, and it was desktop. They were awful. The change that they made under Sheryl Sandberg to put them right within your feed was groundbreaking. These boosted posts have changed everything. Why is that? Well, first off, they're mobile first. Facebook is mobile first. They get that. They get that like no one else. Second, Facebook's algorithm charges you more if your content stinks. So if your content's good, you pay less. So it's great for Facebook. We don't want a bunch of terrible content in there. And it puts the onus on the marketer to create engaging, great content. So next thing is micro moments. So Google actually came up with this term a couple years ago. What micro moments are, they're these little opportunities that we have within the day to connect with someone, to connect with a future prospect, a client, a customer. And we have it because we're on these mobile devices. So I flew into Raleigh late last night, and this morning, cooking around for a cup of coffee. As I look on my map, the experiences that I have with the coffee shops, I don't just want to go to Starbucks, I want to go to something local. How those coffee shops show up in that little micro moment of time matters. I'm not going to give it 20 minutes. I'm going to look for, I don't know, maybe 45 seconds for a cup of coffee. Little moments of opportunity. Also with Google, 60% of the searches are now on mobile. This is a huge shift, and it's changing the way that Google is looking at search. So because of this, Google has made an incredibly big change that's going to be happening this year. They're going to go mobile first for search. What does that mean? Well, it means if you have a really great optimized website, but the mobile version of your website's kind of terrible and isn't optimized correctly, doesn't function properly, isn't fast enough, you're going to get dinged. They're crawling that mobile experience first. And this is not happening in a few years. This is going to start happening now. So we need to start thinking mobile first when we even optimize pages. So now location intelligence. This is one of the more exciting pieces that we have in front of us. Because on our phones, we're walking around, and you know exactly where someone is. This location intelligence is going to bridge the gap between the online and offline world. One of the best use cases is the mall. When I was a kid, we'd go to the mall, and the mall was an experience because everyone was there, and you walk around the mall, and now the mall knows me. I'm not just a teenager that's walking through the mall. Now the mall knows exactly who I am. These stores can now connect with me. Sephora can offer me a deal because they know I'm a sucker, so right as I walk through the door, I can get a special offer. Starbucks knows I have the mobile app, and it's my birthday, So when I walk in the door, I get a notification. They know where I am, they know who I am, and they can bridge this gap in the online and offline world. It's incredible. Now, over 80% of millennials want an in-app, in-store payment. This is also pretty interesting. So that phone now is our wallet. I don't want to pay with cash, and maybe I don't want to pay with a physical credit card. My credit card's on my phone. I already set that up. I just got the X last week and had so much fun setting up all these pieces. And it also took a lot of time, so I don't want to actually, I want to use everything. So what we're starting to see is this trend where we want to buy everything right with our phones. Now, we haven't got there yet on the curve, but we're heading in that direction. And like I said, I'm a runner, so a lot of times I just run with my phone. How cool is it when I can run by an AM/PM, swipe my phone, I don't have to carry cash with me. Now, as I mentioned with Starbucks, certain retailers are also building their own mobile apps for payments. Dunkin' Donuts, Target, and I know this goes against what I was saying before, that apps are dying, but what's unique about these is they're really tapping into the value. Now, how many of you downloaded the Starbucks app or have had it? A lot of people. It's not just because I can pay for my coffee with the app. It's because I earn rewards, right? It's because I get a free coffee on my birthday. Do I really care about $4? No, but it's kind of cool. It's because they treat me a little bit better. And I'm willing to have another app on my phone, doesn't cost me anything, for that purpose. Now, they're collecting all sorts of data on me, which I'm okay with, as long as I get value. And like I said, Dunkin' Donuts and now Target are also following suit. Huge opportunity there, because then you walk into Target, they know you're there. Now, the next thing is the experience economy. Now, the experience economy is, have anyone heard of what the experience economy is? So, even Wall Street is talking about the experience economy. It started with millennials. Millennials care more about experiences than stuff. Well, isn't that cool, right? A generation that cares about experiencing stuff, right? That sounds great, but what's the real reason? Not to be so much of a critic or a cynic, but let's dig a little deeper into this experience economy. Well, first off, let's talk about how it's changing retail. So before, we had these warehouses. You walk into an Old Navy, and it's like 5 stories of, you go to pick out a shirt, they've got that shirt in 16 sizes and 16 colors. It's crazy, and you can walk out with bags, and yeah, it's its own kind of crazy experience. But everything's kind of vanilla, it's not really unique. Now we're seeing a shift towards showrooms. So if you go to New York, you go to Soho. San Francisco, you go to Fillmore Street, which is the high-end area. You go to Rodeo Drive. You go to all these fancy areas. What you're starting to see are showrooms, where a store could have a piece of real estate the size of this stage, and maybe they only have one of each size, and maybe they only have one of each item, and one of each color. But you go, you try it on, and if you like it, they ship it to your house by that afternoon. They don't have to pay to have that huge piece of real estate. And instead, they pay for an amazing experience. Restoration Hardware does this. They spend a ton of money on the experience within the showroom and have a warehouse outside the big city. So going back to millennials and why this experience economy is happening, as Mark Zuckerberg likes to say, the camera is now the keyboard. So again, is it that millennials love the experiences? Or is it something else? How many people have heard of the Museum of Ice Cream? The Museum of Ice Cream has swept, I think it's now in New York, Los Angeles, came into San Francisco, sold out within minutes. Minutes. It is a museum. of ice cream. I had friends that are lactose intolerant that waited in line for the Museum of Ice Cream. Well, why is this? Is it because it's this, is it the art? Is it the culture? Or is it this amazing Instagram and Snapchat experience? It's the experience. The camera is the keyboard. I'm able to go through and, I can do like 45 profile pics in the Museum of Ice Cream. There's another one called the Color Factory. Same idea. I'm sure it'll be hitting Raleigh anytime now if it hasn't already. Sells out within minutes. Each room, it's a modern art exhibit. Each room is like an Instagrammer's dream. I have people that are friends that are so pessimistic about social media that go here and cannot help but to post a photo. Literally every room is built to Instagram. Crazy, right? So this isn't to be cynical on culture. This is about marketing. How can we use this idea to become better marketers? The idea is how we play along. We build these aesthetic experiences in the offline world because we know the camera is the keyboard. We know that everyone's carrying their life, not this, but their life in their pocket. Everyone's walking around with an amazing camera, an amazing video camera. Not only that, but I can post that picture in seconds to thousands of people, if not more. So the capability for us now as brands to get ourselves out there, David Ogilvy, the ad legend, once said, word of mouth is like manna from heaven. We just don't know how to actually capture it. Well, with social media, and now the fact that we're walking around with cameras and are capable of posting it to everyone we know plus some, now we have a way to tap into this. And back to it, the onus is on us as marketers to become creative, to create these experiences that are really unique. One of the photos there, I have a few more minutes, but one of the photos there I thought was really cool. I was at a conference, B2B SaaS conference, probably one of the more boring conferences that you end up going to. But what was cool there is one of the booths, they were taking headshots, professional headshots. So they had this set up all there. They had lines of people collecting email addresses from all of these executives who needed a new headshot. Why? Well, you got to update your LinkedIn, your Facebook. You got to look like, you're professional. You just maybe don't have time to go get a professional headshot. What a great idea for an experience, as opposed to just standing at a booth. So again, thinking through these aesthetic experiences, thinking what is Instagrammable. As corny as that sounds, there is a lot of power there because we are walking around with cameras in our pocket. Now, the final thing to remember, well, first off, I'll show you a little hack really quick. Everyone take out your phone and go to the photo app, open it up, and pass your phone to the person on the right. No, I'm just kidding. The thing that we have to remember, there is so much private information in these phones. Privacy is paramount. It's not just photos, it's not just pictures, it's credit cards, it's location data, it's bank statements, it's health records, emails, the list goes on. So as marketers, as brands, only collect what you can protect. We've seen a lot of people get their hands slapped, especially big companies like Equifax this year. It is becoming more and more important that we figure out how to protect data before we look into trying to just extract it. So just real quick, a couple key takeaways. Maximize the power of the device. These expectations from your users on mobile are rising. We need to build these mobile experiences and build them with the expectation it's just as fast as desktop. Create mobile-first content and always plan for distribution. Everyone's creating content. So you got to think about how you're going to get someone to actually consume it. Optimize for these micro moments and always prioritize privacy. Excellent. Thank you guys so much for having me. Please feel free to connect, and thanks so much.
Awesome.